Start it when I'm already eating. I'm sitting here chewing in your ear, and
now a mukbang channel. Hello, everyone.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds gross.
It kind of is.
Hello, I'm chewing.
It's people that they make lots of money doing it. They just eat on videos, like tons and tons of food.
Well, I could do that.
Like this guy's like, oh, I just got 17 things from Burger King. Watch me eat it.
So get me and Gabe and Ronnie on here.
You can make bank.
We'll just pound it.
You can make bank.
Ronnie could put it away.
Really?
Got to fuel the machine. He's a big boy.
When we start our little podcast network here, that'll be the next one. Something to eat.
I'm eating YouTube.
You're eating YouTube?
Commas do matter.
Oh, boy. Good morning, everybody.
Yet to be determined.
Truth. Wow. My phone cracked the other day, so I'm being very careful with it.
Oh, no.
I know. It's only a year old. I got it at Christmas last time. Last time Christmas happened.
Mine's less than a month old.
Oh, why are you tossing it like that?
I threw it onto
the
cushion of the cables.
That is strictly 6-month behavior. You stop carrying.
Normally I have, I historically have had pay some money, get an OtterBox, something that can endure things.
Yeah, the butter case doesn't do much for
and
protection.
This is the $17, Walmart case. And no screen protector. That's still, I thought we had some, we did not. So now we're waiting for them to arrive. It will be after Christmas.
Christmas is coming. Everything will be after Christmas. I ordered stuff in November and now it's not coming till after Christmas.
Right.
What the heck? Anyway.
Yeah, and I meant to have folks from the church remind people to write to our brother in prison. And I didn't do that. So I hope some folks did already. But if not, it'll be after Christmas by the time to do. So.
All right. I shall start.
C'est la vie.
Oops. Okay. 5, 4, 3. See, now you're drinking coffee when we start. I feel you did that on purpose. Hello, everyone.
I was just trying to hide my face, hide my mug behind the mug.
Hello, everyone.
Greetings. It's the podcast you've been waiting for.
Have you?
No, but it's the theme.
It's the podcast you're going to get.
Yep.
So, not the hero you need. Anyway.
We're here.
We're here.
Are you happy about that?
Me?
Yeah.
Sure.
Good. Because I'm happy about that.
Well, good. You look very festive, and you're even more festive in front of the tree.
I got to tell you, I'm super warm right now.
Well,
I was anticipating not being as warm in this particular space, and
you got to make sacrifices.
The layers are killing me right now.
You got to make sacrifices.
I like
beauty.
your festive.
Thank you.
It's not really specifically a Christmas sweater. It's an outstanding winter sweater. That's
a
nice holiday
I got it
thing.
For $7 last year at Meijer.
That's the way.
Right. Anyway, and my Billy Joel shirt goes well with it.
I dig it. I thought of you yesterday when I saw
You saw Billy Joel?
No, I saw a book of Dollyisms.
Was it at Cracker Barrel?
It was at Cracker Barrel.
I saw that.
At Cracker Barrel in Naperville, Illinois.
Oh, wow. That's not the Cracker Barrel I was at. We went to Cracker Barrel on...
And yet they looked the same on the inside.
We went to Cracker Barrel on Thursday.
At Stevensville?
See. Yes. Because we went... Elf with a movie was playing at Celebration.
Nice.
One showing at 12:45.
All right.
So we went, and we were the only two in the theater.
Seriously?
It was great.
Just you and Jorge?
Yep. He thought that was really cool. He also thought it was really cool.
Your mom didn't go?
She was working.
Oh, yeah. It's Thursday.
He also thought it was really cool.
My mom was not, so you didn't see her.
No, we didn't see her. I said, Mozzie only works in the mornings.
Yeah.
So. I hadn't been to Celebration in a minute, and because I usually go to Niles.
As well you should. It's brilliant.
Very fancy there now, though, at Celebration.
At Celebration? Yeah, yes. It is.
And George's movie was free, and mine was $6, so I couldn't beat that.
See, that's a win.
But he ordered.
They'll bring your food to you.
That's what I was just going to say. There are trays now, like on each seat.
And you've got a recliner to watch.
Yep. And so you could whip the tray around. And he ordered chicken tenders, as he does. And they brought his chicken tenders.
As one does.
They brought his chicken tenders to him, and he thought that he was living the high life. I'm like, all right, well. Don't get used to it because the movies here are not usually $6.
He was probably filled with overflowing exuberant joy.
Yeah, it doesn't take much for him. Chicken tenders usually do it. They tend to do it.
The thing about the tendency, unfortunately, with the chicken tenders and the and the movies and the good times is that they don't produce joy that lasts.
That's a fact.
They produce joy, but not that lasts.
Good.
In fact, the coming of the promised one brings lasting joy to those who will receive him. And there really isn't much else that will do that.
Well, that's the end of the show then, folks.
There you go.
Hope you enjoyed it. Merry Christmas. No, you're correct. And I think we talked about this a little bit last week with peace and, how we search for things to feel at peace. And they're just going to fill that void for so long before you start looking for the other thing. And the same goes for joy. And I often think, in my case anyway, joy and happiness aren't necessarily the same thing.
No, my father-in-law loves to point that out when we're talking about. We were doing Desiring God, John Piper's book. I don't know how long ago. It seems like yesterday, but it was probably last year sometime. Anyhow, we were going through that in Bible study, and Piper uses happiness and joy somewhat interchangeably in the book, in that as far as the overall concept that he's doing, but he's talking about the serious happiness that you're looking for. And so what he's describing is really what a lot of us would think of as joy.
Mm-hmm.
And, with happiness being something that's circumstantial. It's a response to, I have a piece of pizza that makes me happy, but
for 5 seconds.
Yeah. And then that, depends on how fast, depends on how fast you eat it. Pardon me. And we talked about that with peace last time, that we can have the feelings, and we often are chasing the feelings. And one of the things that I think causes a struggle both for peace and for joy is that we so often chase the feelings more than the reality, that we jeopardize the reality in pursuit of the feelings. And so we, you and I've talked about that a lot of times with the peace idea. And I think it's very much the same with joy, is we're so consumed with that pursuit of the feeling. I have to feel that peace. I have to feel this calm and all these kinds of things, that when it doesn't show up the way I want, when it doesn't happen, when it doesn't fall on me, then I find myself in additional turmoil because of the fact that I'm not finding the thing that I'm looking for.
Right.
Joy is the same thing. We chase so many things in these temporary happinesses, whether it's an experience or a euphoric feeling that we can get from a substance or medication or a relationship. How many relationships do people get into because they make me happy, with the scare quotes in there, only to find that once it mellows out later on, which it always does, it is impossible for a relationship not to. That's the nature of it. Once the newness wears off, then suddenly they don't make me as happy anymore. And so now I've wrecked it, because I'm pursuing something that is an impossibility. I'm chasing after a feeling that can't, by its nature, by its definition, remain. Whereas a deeper, lasting joy is more than a feeling. It's a big deal. I love it when you make the 80s references. That's 70s actually for that. That's 1976.
Yikes.
1976 Boston came out.
How do you know that? So off the top of your head.
It's Boston and
the band started in 76, or that particular song?
The album.
Oh.
And I think More Than a Feeling was on that debut album. I could be wrong. Anyway. They only did 2, 3? They didn't do very many.
They didn't do 6 or 7.
I don't know about that.
Anyway, speaking of songs,
I'm so glad that fad is waning.
Well, now that the old people are doing it,
that's the best. So I think it's my sister's school. Yeah, it was. They kind of embraced it because we're going to kill this among the kids by making it the thing that all the teachers do.
Yeah,
so now nobody wants to do it anymore.
Yep. Anyway.
Gotcha.
Anyway, speaking of songs and joy, it's funny to me. I heard a song. I think it's a few years old by Jennifer Hudson. And I don't know if it's just called Joy or whatever. It was on the radio, and it's a Christmas song, and it's about, there will be joy, unending joy, and you see things in the store, holiday decorations that say, like a mug that says joy or whatever. And so I think people end up just associating that with Christmas,
Right.
but not necessarily with Christ.
Yeah, and the good news of great joy, you know,
Right.
here, but
So
we don't make that connection.
right, like in the song, she's talking about, the joy of lights and family and whatever, and that's
Right.
great. But so I think we've
But it's transient.
right. So I think it's kind of fitting into we're looking for things to fill that and to feel joy. But then, you talked about, I think on Sunday, the day after Christmas, you're like, wah, wah. There's this void,
Right.
like emptiness. And like you even like halfway through Christmas Day, you can
Right.
start to feel it like fading.
Yep.
And uh that joy that has been building up for that we're supposed to feel because it's the holidays.
Absolutely. And aren't we like that with so many feelings,
yeah.
right? You know, so Thanksgiving, everybody's, focused on thankfulness for the 5 minutes it takes to go around the
Right.
table and talk about what you're thankful for. And then, as soon as you get through that, and there wasn't enough of the mashed potatoes, let's say.
Right.
And now I'm complaining, I'm griping, rather than being thankful that we have the meal,
Right.
being thankful for what we have, I'm right back into that self-focused complaint coveting mode. And it takes no time at all for us to go from feeling the feeling that we're supposed to completely forgetting that there was ever anything beyond
Right.
what I'm feeling now in this moment. And so, well, and, I know you're having a rough week, obviously, for just the nature of things when you're dealing with stuff. So, as that stuff happens, you can feel super great. And then all of a sudden it's like, was there ever light?
Right.
Was there ever
Right.
happiness? Was there ever
You just get
greatness at all?
stuck in that,
And it can suck
thought
us down
process,
into it.
for sure.
Gary opened the service on Sunday with Psalm 5. And I won't read the whole thing, but just listen to how it starts, and then we'll jump to how it ends. This is David, and David has, throughout the Psalms, David has such a picture, I think a really good picture of what we're like, this roller coaster of emotion.
David's my guy.
Super high, super low, super high, super low. But for David, it's all anchored. And I think that's where we miss it a lot of times.
Mhm.
There's nothing wrong with the emotions themselves. They're going to happen. They're responses to the stimuli, to the circumstances that we're in. And so the feelings are going to come.
And you can't really control that.
Right. The question is, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
Right. And we talk about that all the time, that I don't control what thoughts knock on my heart's door. I do control what thoughts I invite in for coffee and have
Right,
them stay
sure.
and sit on the couch and then overstay their welcome. And 3 days later, they're still on the couch. But anyway, so David starts out with this almost lament. In fact, he actually uses the word lament here in the NIV. Listen to my words, Lord. Consider my lament. Hear my cry for help, my King and my God. For to you I pray. In the morning, Lord, you hear my voice. In the morning, I lay my request before you. I wait expectantly. So he's got this same waiting. This is what we're trying to embrace in the Advent season, is this idea of waiting for what God will do. In the Old Testament, they're waiting for the Messiah that will come. We are looking back to the Messiah who has come, trying to identify with that waiting, but we're also waiting for the Messiah's return. Okay, so this is David waiting for God to act, to move according to his prayers. I wait expectantly, for you are not a God who is pleased with wickedness. With you, evil people are not welcome. And he goes on to talk about the evil that he sees and that he's dealing with. And he gets to the end and he says this, but let all who take refuge in you be glad. Let them ever sing for joy. Spread your protection over them, that those who love your name may rejoice in you. Surely, Lord, you bless the righteous. You surround them with your favor as with a shield. So David's it kind of comes full circle, right? He's longing for this joy. He cries out to God, Lord, hear my lament. But in the end, as David always comes back to, one way or another, I'm going to find my joy not in my circumstances, not in what I see, not in the justice or injustice around me, because I'm never going to have perfect justice in this life. but in the fact that God is God. And so I will choose to make him my refuge. I'm going to choose to take refuge in him and rejoice and sing for joy, because God is the protector of those who pursue him and who love him. And so as we think of the coming of the promised one in those terms, that God is acting on behalf of his people, that he's never not had a plan, or as Troy Polamalu in Head and Shoulders has said, he's never not working, right? God is always doing what God is doing. And from the beginning of time, the beginning of creation, before creation, God had his plan of redemption in place. Before sin happened, God had a plan to redeem his people from their sins. And so when that begins in Genesis 3, God tells them, in the middle of proclaiming the curse, the serpent crusher will come, right? So we're waiting for that. We're looking forward to that. And then as we look forward, we find in the fulfillment of God's promise, in the knowledge that he will, in the observation that he has, we find this joy, this lasting joy when we receive God's promised one on his terms. If we don't, if we want, if, oh, well, Jesus is the reason for the season, peace, hope, joy. Yeah, that's fine. But, and we always have that kind of dynamic. That's great. And I really love the Lord, but I really trust God, but, and so we end up with this, well, if I really love God, why don't I feel better? Rather than, I don't feel good, but I will rejoice in him. I will trust in him.
I will bring up this movie in every podcast if I can. I know I brought it up here several times, but there's a scene in Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge,
where
I still haven't seen that.
I
right?
understand.
I'm troubled by the fact that I haven't
pretty
seen
much
it.
Told you the whole movie at this point.
I've seen a lot of clips of it.
Anyway, there's a scene in Hacksaw Ridge where Desmond,
I don't like paying for movies.
It should be free by now.
Yeah, it never is.
Well,
it has been a couple of times when I didn't have time to see it. But
he's on the battlefield and he's just totally distraught. It's nighttime, everybody's dying or dead, and he's laying on his back and he's looking up at the sky, and he goes, he's talking to God, and he goes, I don't know what you want from me. I can't hear you. And then he just pauses for a minute and he goes, all right. And then he gets up, and that's when he starts like carrying these wounded soldiers off this cliff. So I think about that scene all the time because I feel like that a lot. Like, I don't know what you're doing here. I can't understand. I can't hear what you're doing. But then he pauses and goes, all right, and moves forward. And that's the part that I tend to struggle with. All right.
What a huge picture that is. Right? I mean,
sure.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not, I'm going to do this because I feel it.
Right.
I'm going to choose to do it. And then later I'll let the feelings come when they come. But I'm going to obey even when I can't feel you. I can't hear you, and you seem so far away. And, if we're honest with ourselves, and I know, don't email, I know Christians, far too many Christians who are like, well, I never struggle with that. I never have that. I'm not sure you're entirely being honest with yourself, or maybe you're just not thinking as deeply as you should. Because if we are actually engaged in life and honest, then we know life is hard. It is by its nature, in a sinful, fallen world, sin cursed and filled with strife. It is going to be hard. And if we are not finding times when our emotions don't match our beliefs, then something's disconnected there. And even further, to take it a step beyond that, if we don't have to overcome those negative feelings, then it isn't really faith, right? Then it's sight.
Everything's just great.
Right. If I'm always happy, if God does what I think God should do, what I want God to do, and I always see it, then I'm not walking by faith. I'm walking by my feelings.
Right.
By
where is that in the Bible? The Bible is just full of
only
horrible
where it's
stories
condemned,
and
right?
struggles and right. Yeah.
Right. And so when we think of Christmas joy, like you said, we need to maybe step back from associating that with Christmas trees and with all the fun stuff. And nobody loves that more than I do. Maybe my daughters and you, you guys, we're all in that
it's not a
competition. We're in that vibe, right? So this is the most wonderful time of the year. It's also a heartbreaking time of the year, right? And those things go together a
It's a
lot of
hard
times.
candy Christmas.
See, now I love it. You got the references coming back. So now I'm going to have that song in my head. But as we're considering all of these things, we need to make that connection that you mentioned earlier of the joy isn't in the gatherings. It's not, and this is totally contrary to everything that you see
Sure.
on a Hallmark channel or wherever else. Everything that I see, I just heard some uh, who was it? Some big figure talking about the real meaning of Christmas. It's about giving.
Okay.
It is because that's what birthdays are about too, right? If
Right.
that's what we're going to do.
I mean, sure, yeah, God gave his son.
Exactly. That's it. It is absolutely about that gift, and the rest of it. Christmas is about family. It's about becoming part of God's family. But if we miss the gospel in it, then the joy is only transient. That's all it can be.
I saw a post on. I'm gonna sneeze any second. I feel it
Awesome.
coming.
Look up at
Which
the
is
light.
great for a podcast. I saw somebody. It was a news site. I think posted something on Facebook about Christmas, and then somebody commented on it. Like, "Oh, Christmas is a government holiday. It shouldn't be." Oh, some town in Tennessee is having a Christmas parade, and they wouldn't allow Republican people in it, or but they also wouldn't allow like pride people. They wanted the parade to be specifically about Jesus. They didn't want anything
Okay.
involved in it. Great. And then so somebody commented on that. Oh, this is people should be allowed to express themselves freely, saying that pride and Republicans and whoever should be in
Yeah.
the parade. And they're like, Christmas is a government holiday, and people and Darcy, who goes to our church, she commented on it. She goes, you do know Christmas is about the birth of Jesus, right?
It is kind
like,
of a
that's
thing.
what Christmas is. So, and like people just forget.
And we're right back to Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yeah, but I'm like, okay, Darcy, good for you. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's I don't even know what made me think of that, but that's we do forget about that,
Right.
In,
We
in
we
everything
disconnect it.
else. Yeah.
So then we're
So
back
it's
to
not
wanting
about
the
giving,
feeling
it's
of
not
joy,
about family. It's not,
which is why whenever I have that letdown after the event, it's because I'm tying the feelings
Right.
of joy, the positive things from that. I'm tying them to the moment, to the situation, the circumstances, to the feelings.
Well, we spend weeks building up and,
Right.
and creating ideas in our head. At least
Yeah.
I do. It's going to be like this, and it's going to be like that, and this day is going to be great. And
Right.
and my son is going to open this present and be like, "Wow!" And we're going to have a good meal. And this, you build it up in your mind.
Absolutely.
And then I think
I know I do.
and then that makes, or I even think, our Christmas Eve service is going to be beautiful, and it's going to be this, and then it's done, and you're like, oh,
that was a lot of work, wasn't
it? We were here for hours, but yeah.
Hours and hours and hours of practice for an hour service. But that I remember as a kid coming out of the barn, we'd be milking cows, and I'd see the cars coming. It's the family gathering on Christmas Eve because they would have Christmas Eve at our house, and so I'm down there. I'm like, oh, it's almost time. It's almost time, and I'm so excited. But by the time everybody goes home, I'm almost as sad that that moment is over as I am excited that it's Christmas Eve and tomorrow's Christmas morning.
Right.
So, there's that constant up and down of our feelings. And the lasting joy that we're looking for has to go beyond that. And anything less is going to leave us wanting. And there are all sorts of kinds of joy, expressions of joy. And we talked about that some on Sunday. We looked at Matthew 2 and the Magi who are on this quest, this long, arduous journey to find the Christ child, the Messiah. They've been following the star, and there's a great joy in that when you get to the end of your quest. And I mentioned National Treasure because that's the picture that always comes to mind. It's like, I'm not crazy, but our quest has been vindicated because there is a joy in a longing fulfilled when we see the prophets of old looking forward. I mean, think about it. None of these prophets talking about Christ centuries before he was born, none of them actually got to see him arrive.
Right.
So they're waiting for the promise. That's the whole picture of Hebrews 11. All the patriarchs, all these who have gone before, who lived by faith, but did not receive in themselves, did not receive the promise. They kept waiting for the promise. They found joy in knowing that God would keep his promise, but they never actually got to see it. Therefore, their entire existence was by faith, not by sight or by
Well,
feeling.
and that's us. That
Yeah.
has to be us because we're waiting too.
Right. Well, yeah, we're
And
waiting for that return.
right.
But we've seen God already keep that promise
Right.
in
So we
Christ
can have
in
the
the
faith
Advent.
that he will keep this promise as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, will Jesus come today? I don't know. Will he come in
Right.
500 years? I don't know. But we're waiting, and we may not see that happen in our lifetime, and so we have to hold on to that faith as well.
Yeah. Well, and when we looked at the Magi, we saw that was kind of that victorious, celebratory, we what are you going to do next? I'm going to Disney. I just won the Super Bowl kind of thing. That satisfying joy that feels that way. But then we looked at Luke 1 and Mary's prayer, the Magnificat, and it's a whole different kind of joy. You
Right.
don't get the sense from reading Mary's response that she's like jumping up and down, let's have a party, let's shout and hoop and holler and
She
all
just
that
had a
kind of
baby,
stuff.
to be fair.
Well, she hadn't had the baby yet.
Oh.
Yeah, this is before she has the baby. But she's realizing as Elizabeth talks to her, and so she is pregnant though. So jumping up and down when you're pregnant
Not fun.
probably not the best thing. But she is thankful. She has this grateful, humble heart, and so she rejoices in God's goodness in a calm, quiet, super engaged way. It's not that overwhelming, exuberant, running up and down, Merry Christmas, Bedford Falls. It's not that.
Right.
There is that. We'll get to that in a minute, but the real thing that she's feeling is that I'm 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 overwhelmed in a quiet sense, right? I
And we don't
can't
often think
believe.
of joy that way.
No, we don't. And so if we have that, a lot of times we reject it as not sufficient, right? And again, if you think of this in terms of, because I think of everything in terms of marriage and family, and largely because the Bible uses marriage, sexuality, and family, sports, and military illustrations a lot,
You've
right?
added sports and military.
No, absolutely. Paul talks about sports illustrations a lot, as wrestling, running the race. Paul's really into that. Military illustrations all throughout the prophets. Paul uses them as well. So I keep coming back to those. For whatever reason, God has determined that those are particularly relatable. But marriage, sexuality, and family, that's huge, right? Because we're all a part of that one way or another, whether we're married or not, whether, whatever our situation is, we all come from that, right? And so we can relate. So in any case, with relationships, we mentioned earlier how people chase after that newness all the time. But there is a different kind of joy after, it'll be 37 years of marriage here in a couple of weeks for us. And it does not feel the same as it did on our first anniversary, our fifth anniversary. That there's, I am every bit as, I would say, if I'm going to be really thinking this through, probably more in love with my wife now than I ever have been, but it doesn't feel the same. In a lot of cases, it's a lot more like Mary's humble, grateful, boy, I can't believe how good God is to me.
When in the
kind of
beginning,
thing.
it's probably more of the George Bailey.
Yeah, jumping up and down, man. I see my wife walking down the aisle, and I'm like, I cannot believe how beautiful she is, and just all the emotions flooding. And I'm an emotional guy, no apologies, but it's different on the long term, over the long haul. And so Mary gets that. And I don't know that she got it the whole time, which is why she's praying this prayer now when Elizabeth is telling her what God's put on her heart about her own son being the forerunner for Christ. And, how am I so blessed that the mother of my Lord would come to me? And all of a sudden, it's like Mary gets it. It's like, oh, wow. I mean, it was crazy cool when the angel showed up, but now, oh, wow. How good is God, right? And so she's humbled in recognizing that she's unworthy of this, but her focus isn't, I think this is a huge thing for us as Christ followers. Her focus isn't so much on her unworthiness. She's keenly aware of that. Her focus is on how good is God? How gracious is God to go beyond, it doesn't even matter what I deserve. What matters is his choice. So as you wish, Lord, this is fantastic. But there is that exuberant kind of thing, the George Bailey, and so in Luke 2, when the angels are talking about the good news of great joy, just declaring this to the shepherds, but it's for all people. It's because there is a rescue coming, a savior is being born. That only matters to I mean, it matters to everybody, but the savior only matters if you need to be saved, right? So it's for all people, but not all people are going to recognize it, which happens almost immediately in the story, right? Herod's not realizing. Herod needs a savior just as much as those shepherds do, but he's not ready to receive it. And so those who are desperate, those who recognize their need, when that rescue comes, all of a sudden everything changes, right? George Bailey, incidentally, my favorite movie of all time, and I've got a list, but that's still number one. Every time it gets bumped off by something, it still comes back up there. When and Jimmy Stewart's my favorite actor too. Jimmy Stewart and John Wayne, Cary Grant. These are my big ones. Anyhow, when you're getting the messages today, huh? The when George Bailey is overwhelmed, everything's good, and he's got this slow descent into madness as he's just life isn't going the way he wants, right? And then when the crisis happens, it kicks it over the top. And all of a sudden, that slow boil lets loose. He's been the good dude. He's done the right things, and it hasn't worked out the way he had hoped. And now all of a sudden, everything's collapsing, and it makes him desperate. And he's on the verge of suicide. He's going to kill himself, and prays, and then has this whole crisis, right? And the theology aside, we'll throw, this is not in any way a theologically sound movie, but
every time a bell rings, an angel.
but there is a profound discipleship message in here, as this angel then lets him see what life would be like without him, and it just gets more and more overwhelming to him. Then he gets the gift of coming back to real life. The circumstances haven't changed. I think we miss that a lot in the picture. It's not that he comes back and everything's better. He comes back and it's not better. But his perspective changes, and he goes running through the streets. Merry Christmas, movie house, and,
building alone.
and as he's going through here, he can't help but exult in this joy. And then, because it would be a really unpleasant, it'd be a
he still goes to jail.
It'd be a 1980s movie otherwise. But in the end, it does happen, not the way he expects. All of these things are still bad and all that, but the happy ending and the friends coming around and all that is great. But he finds the joy before that. We think that the whole point of the happy ending is that it works out.
He got the money.
But the point of the happy ending is that he finds the joy.
He really had a wonderful life.
That he really had a wonderful life before the circumstances change. And so when rescue comes, the desperate are filled with joy. When we find that, wait a minute, I am doomed. I deserve God's wrath. There's a lot of stuff on the internet lately about Kirk Cameron rethinking his position on hell and so on and so forth. And my take on it is basically just give the cat space. He's a public figure thinking out loud, and maybe he'll, change his mind back. Maybe he won't. Either way, it's a secondary issue, but and it's an important issue, and he's wrong about this, I think. But the point being, he's wrestling with the character of God in his justice related to sin, and whether or not eternal conscious torment is the appropriate thing. And in his estimation, and the logic of this, and this happens for a lot of people, it does not seem to be the appropriate God-like justice. My whole thing, go for that sneeze. You get that.
It keeps going.
Yeah, get that thing. Look up at the light and sneeze off the mic.
Sneeze off the mic.
But the whole dynamic there is, I don't think we realize how very desperate our situation is. There is no small sin. What we might consider the tiniest peccadillo is
really try to get that in.
Cosmic treason.
Sure.
Right? And so it is absolutely worthy of, yes, eternal conscious torment. And however God chooses to do it, he's God and he is just, and that's right. Whether we understand it or not is less the point than whether we will submit to whatever he chooses. That's true with so many doctrines.
Right.
And when we get that, then we see that this God who could and should and is committed to this pouring out of wrath against sin, in the middle of that, demonstrates his love for us in that while we are yet sinners, not seeking him, not God knows that we're going to be the ones who will accept it, while we are dead in our transgressions, while we are utterly hostile toward God, whether we acknowledge that consciously and actively or not, God sent his son. That's the hope of Christmas.
Right.
That's the
That's the
peace
giving
of
that
Christmas.
matters.
That's the joy of Christmas. It's the giving that matters, that God gives his son to reconcile us. And so when we know that, that we're facing this damnation and the last minute pardon comes in, there is a radically heightened experience of joy.
Yep.
Right. And so that's the good news that the angels proclaim. And when we see that, isn't the logical thing then to rejoice? I mean, of course it is. So, just a few verses after that, the shepherds get this confident joy of seeing this promise kept, right? So the angels declare this good news of great joy. The Savior has been born. He's Christ, the Messiah. He is the Lord. He's the one that's been promised. And they go down into Bethlehem and they see this thing that the angels told them about. And when they see it, they didn't go because they needed to find out if it was true. They already believed it was true. Now, when they see that it's true, they rejoice with a new kind of confidence and they go and tell everybody about it. So that left us, with the final thought that we were looking at on Sunday, that the joy of inheritance is greater than the trials of waiting. And jumping from the Gospels to 1 Peter chapter 1, Peter describes this enduring joy, the idea that you're putting your hope in Christ. You haven't seen him, but you love him, and in the middle of all of the stuff that you're going on, you're facing trials. You have to wait for this joy, because the inheritance comes at the end. That's the nature of inheritance. And so, being in relationship with God as children and heirs. That sounded weird when I said heirs.
Hairs.
Dub heirs.
Very British to say hairs.
As God makes you his child, the joy isn't in the inheritance that I'm going to get stuff. Not that isn't a joyful thing. There
But it's another temporary joyful thing.
But if we're looking at the eternal reward, that someday heaven, right?
Oh, right.
Someday
I meant like a person.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So we have that, and a lot of
that's what we
times
think of as inheritance.
and generally speaking, what happens in our mind when we encounter someone in a murder mystery or even in the Bible,
Right.
where they are so focused on getting the stuff of their inheritance that they no longer care about their parents, right? And it, very often, how many times have we seen this in the news over the generations, where you got the rich family and the kids end up murdering the parents because you want to get to that inheritance, or murdering each other because you're wrestling over this, what we're going to get. But the real joy is in having the relationship that leads to that inheritance. So in 1 Peter, he's talking about this joy that endures, that perseveres, because of the fact that we know we are children of God. We're not outsiders. We are his heirs. And so we look forward to this inheritance that will come when Christ returns. When the end comes, it's the beginning for those who are in Christ. And so with that in mind, whatever we have to face in the meantime, it's kind of small potatoes. It doesn't mean it's not real, but by comparison, this is why Paul said the sufferings we go through now, it's not even worth comparing to the glory that will be revealed in us. And he's got inheritance in mind, but his focus is the glory, not the inheritance. It's not that you're going to get this great, easy life in heaven. That's the picture we have a lot of times. But because you're going to be with him, you're going to be basking in the direct glory of God in a way that is unthinkable to us now. We can't even comprehend what that means. And so that kind of enduring joy is it leads to, it develops faith that sees beyond the moment to what is it that God is doing in the long haul? What is the eternal joy? What is the persevering joy that says, whatever I'm going through now, that's okay. I don't love it. I hate it.
Yeah.
This is terrible. How do the martyrs get through being burned at the stake? Because they know there is something better. We are living for another land. We're living for a greater kingdom. And that's the whole focus of Peter, of First Peter, by the way. So when we get to this picture, and we looked at Isaiah 35, that the Lord's vengeance is terror for the wicked, but joy for the redeemed. When that inheritance comes, when that last day comes, God's justice will be poured out on all who fall short of his glory. And that's everybody, except for those who get credit for Christ's righteousness, because we get credit for him, and he doesn't fall short of God's glorious standard. That's the joy that we have. And so in the end, that's what brings the lasting joy to those who will receive Christ, is knowing that his coming unites us to him when we receive him.
Okay, we'll stop there. We're a little over time, but this is a
If it's just a little, then it's
special Christmas episode.
better than the sermon then.
This is this will be our last episode before Christmas. So thanks for joining us. Merry Christmas to all.
And then we're going to probably skip that.
Take a week or so off.
A week or a month
a week or so.
something.
We'll see.
We'll see when we feel like coming back.
You want a podcast or what? Be in a cookie coma or something. And everywhere thing. Anyway, thank you all for listening.
Cookies are a great symbol of joy and
That's
love.
True. That's true, but also temporary.
Also temporary.
Especially when I'm in a mood to eat cookies. They're very temporary. Anyway, thank you all for listening. And if we don't come back before the new year, then thanks for sticking with us this year. It's been a good year.
So we'll plan to see you in January.
Let's just say that now. We'll plan to see you in January. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thanks for sticking with us, and we'll catch you later. We'll be back in Deuteronomy when we come back.
How about that?
Wow. The holidays are over. Bye, everybody. Thanks, YouTube. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. JR. Is that Jack?